all. We are going to see about Home Rule Movement 1915 to 1916. Introduction. Home Rule Movement was the Indian response to the First World War and represented the emergence of a new trend of aggressive politics. Tilak released on 16 June 1914. He helped the British war effort, believing that the government could repay their help by agreeing to Indian demand of a self-rule. Further, to create a public pressure on Britishers for this movement was started. Annie Besant and Bal Gandhar Tilak were pioneers of this new trend. However, Congress did not support this. Two Home Rule Leagues were formed. Objectives of the Home Rule movement: to achieve self-government in India, to promote a political education and discussion, to set up agitation for a self-government, build a confidence among the Indians to speak against the government suppression, and to demand the larger political representation for Indians from the British government, to receive political activity in India while maintaining the principle of the Congress party. Major contribution of Home Rule movement. The Leagues organized a demonstration and agitations. There were public meetings in which the leaders gave fruitful speeches. They were able to create a stir within a country and alarm the Britishers to such an extent that Annie Besant was arrested in June 1917. This move by British created a nationwide protest, and now even the moderate leaders joined the League. Besant was released in September 1917. The Home Rule League functioned throughout the years as opposed to the Congress party, whose activities were confined to once a year. The movement was able to garner hug support from a lot of educated Indians in 1970. The two leagues combined as around 40,000 members. Many members of the Congress and the Muslim League joined. The many prominent leaders like Muhammad Ali Jinn, Joseph Babista, and Subramania Iyer was among its members. The moderates, extremists, and the Muslim League were briefly united through this movement. The movement was able to spread a political conscience to more religions in the country. This movement led to Montague Declaration of 1917 in which it was declared that there could be a more Indian in the government, leading to the development of self-governing institutions, ultimately releasing responsible governments in India. The declaration, also known as the August Declaration, implemented that the demand for home rule could no longer be considered serious. This was the biggest significance of the movement. And the reasons: the movement was not a mass movement, it was restricted to educated people and college students. The Leagues did not find out a lot of support among the Muslims, Anglo-Indians, and non-Brahmins from the southern Indian, as they thought home rule could mean a rule of a upper-caste Hindu majority. Many of the moderates were satisfied with the government assurance of reforms. They did not take a moment further. Annie Besant kept oscillating between being satisfied with the government Tilak of her reforms and punished the Home Rule movement forward. She was not able to provide firm leadership to her followers, although ultimately she did call the reforms unworthy of Indian expectations. In September 1918, Tilak went to England to purchase a liberal case against Sir Ignatius Valentine Churchill, British journalist and author of the book Indian Unrest. The book contained a disparagatory comments and had called Tilak the father of unrest. The government made use of a Defiance of Indian Act 1915 to curb the activities of agitators. Students were prohibited from attending home rule meetings. Tilak was pursued and his entry in Punjab and Delhi was banned. Indian Press Act of 1910 was imposed on the press and restrictions were enforced. Tilak's absence and descent invalidly to lead a people led to the movement fizzing out. The movement was left leaderless, with Tilak going abroad and Besant unable to give a positive lead. After the war, Mahatma Gandhi gained promises as a leader of a mass, and the Home Rule US merged with the Congress Party in 1920. The Home Rule movement lent a new dimensions and a sense of urgency to the national movement, although its role in the Indian independence movement had been modest. It did succeeded in helping to sustain movement impetuous during the war years, as manufactured in the signing of the Lucknow Pact in December 1960. The Indian Home Rule movement was a movement in British India on the lines of Irish Home Rule movement and other Home Rule movements. The movement lasted around 2 years between 1960 and 1918 and is believed to have set the stage for the independence movement under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi. In Home Rule movement began in the Indian background of World War I. The Government of India Act 1909 failed to satisfy the demands of the national leaders. However, the split in the Congress and the absence of the leader like Tilak, who impressed in the mandatory meant the nationalistic response was lifted. By 1950, many factors set the stage for a new phases of nationalist movements. The rise in the stature of Annie Besant, who of Irish origin and firm support to the Irish Home Rule movement, of Tilak from exile and growing calls for solving the split Congress in this the political sensitivity in India. Gandhi immunity and its suppression led to atmosphere resistant against the British rule. Tilak and Home Rule. Lokmanya Tilak first started the Home Rule movement was against the discriminative attitude of the British government. He was the opinion that the British were responsible for the degrading conditions of the Indians. He said that they made the Indians economically weak. In order to uplift the Indians from their degrading conditions and make them strong enough to fight war of independence, he established the Home Rule League in India 1916 along with Mrs. Annie Besant. His main aim was to drive out the Britishers from the ultimately and establish a self-government in India. His main political goal was political emancipation of the motherland. The main aim of the movement was to give Indians their rights. Tilak said that every community should have the rights of self-determination. Tilak's approach towards emancipation and uplift of the individual was highly acclaimed by the individual. Gandhiji and Home Rule movement. First, Gandhiji agrees that Home Rule is a self-rule. He agrees that it is not enough for the British to live only for Indians to adopt a British-style society. As he puts it, some want English rule without an Englishman, that is to say, could make India English, and when it become English, it will be called not Hindustan but English then. This is not the Swaraj I want. Gandhiji also agrees that Indian independence is only possible through the passive resistance. In fact, more than denouncing violence, Gandhiji agrees that is a counterproductive instead. Instead, he believes the force of love and pity is infinity greater than the force of arms. There is harm in the excess of a pure force, never in that of a pity. This is an essential throughout the Hindu Swaraj. to extend a past resistance. Gandhiji reasoned that Swadeshi be exercised by the Indians, meaning that refusal of all trade and dealings with the British. He addresses the English when he states, "If you do not consider our demand, we shall be no longer your petitioners. You can govern us only so long as well as we remain the governor, we shall no longer have any dealings with you." Gandhi makes an including agreement here. If the British want India for trade, remove trade from the equation. Finally, Gandhi agrees that India will never be free unless it restricts Western civilization itself. In the text, he is deeply certain of Western civilization, claiming India as being around down not under the English heel, but under that of a modern civilization. He speaks about civilization not just in relation to India, through the argues that Western civilization is such that one has only to be a patient and it will be self-destroyed. It is a profound reputation, not only in a Western civilization unhealthy for India, but Western civilization is by its own virtue unhealthy. Tagore and Home Rule Movement. The last. Sir Rabindranath received the political situation created by the Home Rule agitation and the attitude of the government towards it. He impressed upon the audience, that is,